My name is Debbie Funderburg, and my research presentation topic is virtual field trips. I chose this topic because I think that I will get a lot of benefit out of using virtual field trips in my own classroom, and I feel that they could be of great benefit to any teacher who would use them. I will be giving some insight into how virtual field trips can be used in our classrooms to enhance learning and to bring interest to help keep students engaged. I'd like to start off by saying that although I will be expressing the great aspects of virtual field trips, I do not mean for those to take the place of standard field trips that are available to students. By standard field trip, I mean the field trips where students leave the school grounds to go to a different location. As with any other situation, there are pros and cons involved with these types of field trips, and we'll discuss some of those. Obviously, standard field trips are a great opportunity for students to get out of the classroom and into a new environment with real-world experience. They can also enjoy interacting in a more relaxed atmosphere outside the confines of a classroom or outside the school grounds. It is also a great opportunity for many students, especially those from a low socioeconomic background, to go places they've never been, see things they've never seen, and experience situations they've never been exposed to. When standard field trips provide hands-on activities, it's always a good thing for students. They love to get in there and be involved in whatever it is that they're learning. It's a great learning experience when they can do that. Unfortunately, it's time to talk about the cons that are involved with standard field trips. The first one I'd like to discuss is how difficult it is for some special needs students to be involved in those types of field trips. There are always things that have to be done to make it possible for them to not be left out. It's just as important for them to go on those trips as it is for the other students, and sometimes that's very difficult to arrange. Transportation is a major issue when you're planning a field trip. There has to be buses available, drivers to drive those buses, enough teachers and chaperones to go on the trip. Then you have to make sure that you have the parent permission to take those children on the buses away from the school grounds. You have to deal with inclement weather. Things can always crop up that are unexpected and beyond your control when you're talking about a trip like this. There's a lot to be considered. The expense involved with standard field trips is a given. As with any other trip, there are always expenses involved. Many schools of today are experiencing budget cuts that make it impossible to allow students to go on the field trips that the teachers and the schools would like for them to be involved in. The ones that they can go to are great, but there's no way that they can take them on long distance trips that would involve a lot of money. Some of these would not be possible even if they had the money, but especially in our area in South Arkansas, where we don't have a lot available as far as museums and places that we can take the students, it's a major trip to take them to some of those places, and it involves even more money. Keeping our students safe is definitely an issue these days. We have to make sure that our students are as safe as possible when we have them inside the safe classroom walls. But it's really a major thing to take them outside of our area where we're not familiar with things and to be able to keep them safe. That's always a concern for students, parents, teachers, and schools. Classrooms of today look totally different than classrooms of merely a few years ago. Paper and pencil have completely vanished from some classrooms and have been replaced with technology. We have to meet students where they live. We have to keep up with 21st century technology. The days of teachers standing in front of the class and lecturing endlessly are hopefully gone. We owe it to our students to communicate with them on a high-tech level. Our curriculums and resources must meet their needs. Common Core state standards require that we lead our students to become independent, deep thinkers and to prepare them for college or for the world beyond high school. To do that, we have to provide them with insight into the world outside our classrooms. What better way to accomplish that task than to take them on trips into the world by way of virtuality? Students can go to famous places to watch important events taking place. They can speak directly to famous authors during a book signing. They can climb Mount Everest, swim to the bottom of the ocean to learn about endangered species, travel through the human body, or take a trip into outer space. The possibilities are becoming endless as virtual trips become more and more popular. Teachers can even have students create their own virtual trips using field trip generator software. These virtual field trips can be taken by the whole class, in small groups, or even as individual activities. What better way to meet Common Core state standards? Science class can be so much more exciting when seen in 3D. Geography and history classes can become much more interesting when visiting places via virtuality. And they are a great way to challenge students and expose them to technology. The list of good reasons to use virtual field trips in classrooms is endless. But to go over a few, they can be easily aligned with curriculum and standards. They're a great way to challenge students and expose them to new technology, whether you are showing them virtual field trips or they are creating their own. Either way, they're being exposed to new technology. They're a good way to motivate student learning and create interest. You can use them to begin a unit, in the middle of a unit to help explain what's going on, or at the end of the unit to cover everything that you've gone over. There's really not a bad time to use virtual field trips. It's also a great way to expose students to different cultures. You can take students on field trips to different countries, to different parts of the world. They're just a great way to allow students to see what it's like in other places. They're a great way to differentiate learning. There are ways to use virtual field trips so that students who need to see them more than once can watch them and learn at their own pace. It's a great way to offer revisit and relearn opportunities for students that don't get it the first time or that you just need to go back over something. They offer the opportunity to make real-world connections. There's a great way to allow students to see what's going on out there by taking them on these field trips. They offer teachers the opportunity to continually assess, because he or she can always stop to check for comprehension during the middle of a virtual field trip. Or if time runs out and you feel like students haven't really gotten everything, you can stop, go back over some things, and then restart your field trip. There's just really nothing bad to say about virtual field trips in our classrooms. In this article, author Kelly Tinkley tells us how wonderful virtual field trips are and how the simulations are so realistic that students will believe they've actually left the classroom, how much fun they can be, and how educational they can be. She thinks that they're a great way to go on field trips when we otherwise wouldn't be able to do so with our classrooms. It's a great article. In her article, Virtual Field Trips for Project-Based Learning, Nancy Rubin explains to us that these virtual trips are an inexpensive way to integrate hands-on technology and to combine content knowledge with technology. She has done a great job of explaining how we can use these in the classroom and to incorporate our Common Core state standards.